Hi. Today I'm going to show you the science behind why we lose objectivity with our families and how it affects us. My name is Jeff Murrah, and in this video I'm going to explain some of the reasons for losing your objectivity when it comes to family members. There's something about family that makes it hard to maintain that. And it's going to be important to understand these aspects because they have a big impact on our relationships when left unchecked for too long. So let me break this down, break down what's happening, and you can stop yourself from getting caught up in one of these vicious cycles. Now, I mentioned this about objectivity because one of the hallmarks of codependency and enabling is the loss of objectivity with your family. Originally I was going to label this video Losing Your Perspective because getting knocked off course with objectivity is about perspective. And I'll be talking about the other side of perspective as well. Because the thing is, when you are caught up with enabling and rescuing, it's you're unable to see the unhealthy patterns in your own family. It's almost like you can see when the neighbors do it. You can see it when your sister does it or your brother does it, but you can't see it with your own kids. You can't see, some unhealthy habits that are going on. And you wonder, why is this? Why can't I see it? Well, because you've gotten used to it and you view it as normal. If you grew up in a family that was very dysfunctional, it's hard to recognize normal, or it's hard to know what's healthy if you've never been exposed to it. If all you go by is what you've seen in situation comedies on TV or movies, you've got some bad role models. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that. And yeah, your family probably looks pretty normal compared to Roseanne's, but you've got to think about what's in the best interest of your children and raising them to be good people. Because it's hard to do healthy if you have not been exposed to healthy. Now, part of the reason for this is that if you got honest with yourself and took the blinders off, it would be awfully painful. And for some of you, that pain is more than you can handle. And it's also part of denial, a way of protecting yourself from those uncomfortable feelings or uncomfortable realities. Now, although it's uncomfortable, these are things that I encourage you be willing to look at it. Some examples of unhealthy patterns. Calling your kids unhealthy names. That's not a good thing. You and your spouse taking digs at each other, thinking it's fun. Things like that aren't good because eventually they tear at you deep down on the inside. Because your goal is, one, to have healthy family patterns. And number two, you're going to want to develop resilience. Resilience is that ability to bounce back. And part of that bouncing back is to maintain that balance between objectivity and subjectivity. Now, the other part of that, in terms of losing perspective, is that when you look at too many things objectively, because when you look at the world objectively and look at everything objectively, it creates emotional distance between you and it. That same reason why you can't see the unhealthy patterns in your own family. That same mechanism's at work here when you're getting too objective. Because essentially what you're doing is replacing love with these rational, objective values. And there's a time literally to steer between the extremes, and keep it in mid-range. Like for instance, I find it's important when going through a time of crisis or loss, like death of a family member or some medical emergencies. I have to turn on some of the objectivity then. But I also have to set aside time to turn it off so that I can feel the pain, so that I can work through the hurt. I can't stay objective all the time. That's when you get in trouble. You can't be totally objective with the world. I forget who the philosopher was, one of those old Greek philosophers. He was amazed at why people get so upset when their own wife dies, but when another man's wife dies, they don't get upset at all. And that was always a problem in philosophy. I mean, he has some twisted ideas. And the counter to that, somebody who reacts that way, like for instance, if your father passed away and you treated it just like any other man passing away or anybody else's father passing away, and it was no big deal, you're neither fit to be a good father or a good spouse at that point, because you need to have that emotional connection. You've got too much objectivity at that point. So objectivity is something that you're going to need to steer between the extremes. If you've got a tendency to codependency, you're going to need to develop more objectivity with your family. And if you're too distant, you're going to need less objectivity. This is part of the ongoing series that we're doing in terms of understanding, enabling, and moving past it. And it's my hope that you go ahead and apply these things and start moving past it, because you deserve a healthier family. So until next time, this is Jeff Morrow wishing you best regards. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Give it a thumbs up, whatever. And until next time, see you later. Goodbye.